Welcome, and hopefully welcome back to some previous viewers and readers. This is my 5th video as Honestdadvice now, and the topic today is the environment we live in as a collective human species. My goals include the inspiration of open-minded inquiry, leading to both learning and growth in myself and in others who might view these videos. I reiterate my sincere belief that speaking the truth has power and significance whenever it is accomplished. I am producing and releasing at least one video a week thus far. If you have not yet done so, please consider viewing one or more of my previous videos and feel free to leave a comment, query, or critique as well. I genuinely want to encourage people's freedom of beliefs and their expression clearly and openly to me and to others I might attract as commenters or contributors. But I respectfully request that all who engage with me and others through this company practice sufficient tolerance and open-mindedness to consider their underlying assumptions and entertain the possibility of alternative views, both in terms of viewing my content and having space and time to reflect upon the matters considered at a reasonable pace. In this topic, I first want to state that I am not arrogantly claiming certainty about the issues to be discussed in regards to our environment. Indeed, this is a highly complex area, and I acknowledge humbly that I am not expert in climate science, high-level statistical modelling analysis, or fluid dynamics. But as a university-educated science teacher at the high school level, I have a strong foundational appreciation of and interest in the basic argument of net energy in the open global system, increasing due to anthropogenic carbon dioxide or CO2 emission increases since the Industrial Revolution over the past 150 years, with significant intensification of effect since 1950. I have often seen the need and utility in citing the meaning of scientific terminology or jargon at the classroom level, and for any who are unfamiliar with the term anthropogenic in the context of the arguments for climate change, the US Geological Survey, USGS.gov site, has in their Earthwords section defining anthropogenic as referring to environmental change caused or influenced by people, either directly or indirectly. I have often tried to explain, as the USGS do here, to students in my classes, the etymology or meaning of the sections of words which are used in scientific contexts. Anthropo, from the Greek language, means of or relating to humans, while genic means creation, the root behind the term Genesis, well known as the first book of the Torah in Hebrew scriptures and the Holy Bible respectively. To usefully speak on this topic, one must first understand the basic assumptions which underlay concerns. Many simplifications are necessary, but the basic premises are these cited direct from NASA's Climate Portal, which usefully summarizes scientific evidence on this issue. On average, globally, surface temperature has increased by about 1.18 degrees C since the 19th century. Current levels of CO2 in the atmosphere are unequivocally higher by approximately 100% to the trendline maximum, and possibly 200% higher than average for the preceding 800,000 years, where there is what I consider to be a reliable evidentiary basis for the claim, utilizing ice cores from multiple sites, reinforcing the accurate and reproducible nature of this data. CO2 and other gases of concern, including CH4 or methane and N2O nitrous oxide in the atmosphere, traps solar energy, and this is the basis for stable life on Earth at this distance from the Sun. However, there is a feedback system whereby increasing the amount of these gases in the atmosphere at almost 250 times the rate that natural sources alone contribute on average since the last ice age of 12,000 years previously is warming the environment at about 10 times the average rate of recovery warming that occurred after previous Ice Age events in the geological record. The oceans are a major component of the picture. Comprising over 70% of the surface of the Earth, the top 100 metres of water have absorbed around 90% of the extra energy input to the global system, only increasing in temperature 0.6 degrees C since 1969. Sea level rise is 20 centimetres for the past 100 years, but it is also increasing in pace every year and is already double the rate of the preceding 19th century. Ocean acidification, particularly in the top surface regions, has increased about 30%. This absorbs maybe a maximum of 30% of the total anthropogenic CO2 emissions of the prior few decades. However, the side effects include decreased oxygen holding capacity as temperature increases, and bleaching, the death of the fauna that create coral. The Arctic ice cap is also melting and thinner than it used to be. Ice in glaciers is retreating north and or melting away entirely, as is the case with Africa's Mount Kilimanjaro, while interestingly, Antarctica is less affected thus far. However, NASA claims reasonably that this is since the Arctic is an ocean with an ice cap, while Antarctica is a large landmass, also with a thicker and more stable ice cap, surrounded by an ocean. Finally, the frequency and intensity of weather events such as drought, bush or wildfire, storms and flash flooding events, as well as hurricanes in the US and the Australian context, tropical cyclones. Asians call them typhoons as well, but they are all the same type of high-speed, rotating vortices of wind in the troposphere, have increased, while statistically fewer blizzards and cold weather events are occurring in the same period. Nonetheless, whatever events do occur are actually becoming far more intense and unpredictable, as with the recent blizzards in Texas and in Northern Europe. The purpose of this video now is to outline some of my general observations on the issues related to the scientific basis I covered above. Humans affect the climate of Earth now on a global scale, and human activities related to the Industrial Revolution, especially regarding use of energy for making life more easy, convenient, and mobile, are causally linked to increased adverse weather events, climate warming, and the possibility of dramatic sea level rises soon displacing millions of climate refugees, while simultaneously making disease spread more easily as well. Humans use their environment for many, many diverse purposes, which vary dramatically due to local circumstances. But in general, the more advanced societies become, the less affected by the consequences of their activities, and the more able to export harmful byproducts and waste of industry they become. This affects the poorer nations and people in less secure developing world nations disproportionately. There are arguments I have discussed in prior video that the planet is overpopulated with humans. This may well be both true and false at the same time. What do I mean? It is a matter of context. On a global scale, far more than the nutritional requirements of every living person is currently being produced, yet much is being wasted. And agricultural meat production is far more land, water, and energy intensive than plant-based farming as well, leading to greater still waste overall. In addition to this, in many places, humans are overcrowded in urban centres, in some places due to the pernicious combinations of poor planning or mismanagement, or even governmental neglect due to corruption. Both wide-scale human suffering and large-scale environmental consequences at the same time are happening. There are also moral issues related to the climate change phenomenon. Is it just, ethical, or fair for developed countries, whose populations have enjoyed the benefits of the Industrial Revolution for more than a century now, to exclude from or limit benefits to developing nations? Or should they be forced to pay for their previous privileges, even though those alive today did not choose to be in that position? Is the right to life being respected by all? Certainly not, as I have stated in prior video. Indeed, some utilize advanced and privileged technological and economic positions to impose restrictions and control upon less able to resist or weakened social groups. Even more importantly, we as a global society need to come to compromise about the degree of waste and overuse of resources by few at the expense of many. Finally, is it possible to source and develop technology to prevent or avert the worst impacts of global climate change, whilst simultaneously not destroying people's lives and lifestyles? Is it possible to generate electricity and mechanical power for industry with less or no CO2 emissions? On a technical level, many might be unaware that there are significant limits on generation of all current green technologies, both in terms of construction of the equipment necessary, as for example in mining rare earth minerals for use in making the tech, in the use or deployment of the tech. For example, uptake of green electric vehicles is slow in many regions, such as the US. Bird life is adversely affected by wind turbine farms and nuclear power plants that for complex political reasons are not being utilised as much as warranted in regions where they make logical sense, such as Australia, whilst being arguably overutilised in regions where the risks are markedly higher, such as Japan. Moreover, we have had a decade or so of massive uptake in solar panel construction and installation, yet many are unaware of the looming environmental hazard of dismantling and possibly recycling old e-waste, including broken or obsolete solar panels, in their end-of-life phase of the manufacturing life cycle. As human beings, we are meant to be hardwired for ensuring the survival of our genes into the future. Yet, is it possible that due to the impact that our species has on our world, we might even render it uninhabitable for humanity before we develop the technology that would be necessary to leave in a hypothetical future for a sufficiently terraformed Mars to sustain human life, or even further afield, asteroids, moons, or planets to colonize? We are collectively responsible for the survival of future generations of humanity on the Earth right now. So, as I have told students for my entire educational career thus far, on an individual scale, each of us should take real, tangible, and practical steps to minimize waste, excessive use of luxuries, and energy consumption at high levels. On a personal note, my wife and I have gradually improved our dedication to recycling, avoiding wasted water use with both shorter shower times, watering the gardens by hose rather than automated sprinkler use more frequently, not leaving the tap on when brushing your teeth, and having several meatless meals a week. However, we are far from vegetarian at this stage. I am ashamed to admit that our own comfort has meant we have dramatically overused air conditioning, electricity, in the past few months. In particular, as I hate humid weather, we've run it often for full 24-hour intervals in dry mode to dehumidify the air. As a result, for perspective, we ended up with a $700 charge with a $200 credit from the state government of Western Australia for the past 65 days on our bill received early this week. We paid it yesterday, and this is according to the online tools provided by our electricity service retailer, Synergy, more than double the average 4x2 home in the same suburb or postal zip code we live in. To all who view this video, I encourage you to honestly reflect upon your own footprint and to tread more lightly upon the earth, aiming to leave it better than we received it from our forebears when our time is done. For myself and my family, I am looking forward at this Lent to an opportunity to resolve, to improve further, and to reduce, reuse, and recycle to a greater extent, especially by having less air conditioning use. As I have stated in concluding prior videos, this is an ongoing endeavour to produce a series of explorations on what I see as topical issues. I remain open to generating lively discussion in the hope of real dialogue, where exchange of views is done respectfully in the pursuit of mutual growth and development on all sides, myself included. I hope that this has been an intriguing and thought-provoking video, and that if you are curious to know or discuss anything I have raised further, you might reach out via leaving a comment below. For now, thank you for your interest. If you want to see more content like this in future, please subscribe to my channel and more will come.